Namaste children. I welcome you all to yet another science session. Children, even today we are going to revise one of the topics of the previous grade. Can you guess the topic, children? Yes, I'm sure you are already able to take a guess of the topic just by looking at the first slide, isn't it, children? In today's class, we are going to revise the chapter Safety First. Alright, so let's get started. Children, your parents, your grandparents and we teachers at school, we always insist you on one thing, on being safe, to follow safety rules. Isn't it, children? We are always after you, insisting you to follow all the safety rules, to be safe. Right, children? Now, why do you think we are after you all the time? It is because we care for you. We care for your safety. We want you to be safe all the time. Right, children? That is the reason why we always urge you to follow all the safety rules. Right? Now, children, when I say be safe or stay safe, what is the message that I'm trying to give you all here? Is it that I want you all to shut yourselves in a room, lock yourself up, do not touch anything in the fear that you might get hurt? No, that is not what I'm asking you to do. Then what is it? Am I asking you to wear all the safety gears all the time, be it helmet or your kneecaps and other safety gears? Am I asking you to do that? No, that is not what I'm expecting you to do. It simply means we have to follow certain precautionary measures, certain safety habits while we are doing our day-to-day activities. Alright? Now, what are the activities I'm talking about here? Children, from the time we wake up in the morning till the time we go to bed at night, we do several activities. Right, children? We perform many different activities. Now, all of these activities comes with its own set of do's and don'ts, which means when these activities are not performed carefully, we might pose ourselves at the risk of accidents, right? We might harm ourselves when we don't follow the necessary safety habits that comes associated with it, right? So that is the reason why we should be aware of the safety habits and we should follow or make it a habit to follow all these safety habits in our day-to-day life. Alright? Accidents can take place anywhere. It could be inside the house or outside the house. Right, children? The only thing which we can do, which is in our hands, is that we have to follow all the safety rules. Right? We can get hurt in the kitchen, in the bathroom, or in the playground, or on the ground while playing, right? Or at school. Right, children? Now here, firstly, let me summarize the important safety habits which we have to follow at some of these places, and later on we will discuss some common emergency situations and how to react as a safety measure, how to react to those situations. First, safety at home. Yes, children, our home is the safest of all the places on the planet to us, right? Our home is our den and a place where we are most comfortable. Isn't it, children? But does this ensure that we are safe here all the time? I mean, we may get ourselves hurt even when we are within the house. Right, children? When we don't follow safety rules or we perform the activities, day-to-day activities carelessly without being cautious, we might get hurt even when inside our house. Right, children? So here let us recall some important safety habits which we have to follow when we are inside our house. Okay? So what are these safety rules which we have to follow when we are inside our houses? Let us list them down one by one, children. In the kitchen, do not touch any hot vessel with bare hands. Alright, do not touch any hot vessel with bare hands. You have to make use of the towel when you are handling hot vessels. Alright. Next is the safety rule to be followed in the bathroom. Children, make sure that you don't leave soap or any traces of soap on the bathroom floor. Alright, make sure to clean all the traces of soap before leaving the bathroom. Okay, children, also make sure you use a non-slippery mat outside the bathroom so that you don't skid or you don't slip. Right, children? Next is you have to throw all the waste, especially the vegetable or the fruit peel, in its designated bin, in the dustbin. Otherwise, you might stamp on it and you might fall down, right? You might slip and hurt yourself badly. So what you have to do? You have to place or put all of these waste in its designated bin. Alright, children? Next is we tend to observe that you kids, you spread all your things on the floor and you don't end up cleaning them. So what happens during this time? You yourself or any of your family member, they might topple and they might fall down, getting hurt, right? So in order to avoid this, clean up the space, clean up the floor, keep it dry, neat and dry. Alright, children, once your work is done, replace all your stationeries and all your playthings in its designated area. Okay? Next is, you should not play with fire. Means you should not play with the gas stove, or you should not try to light the matchsticks and play with the matches. Alright? Make sure not to mess with it, children. Okay? That's really dangerous. Alright? Now, yes, these were some of the safety rules which we have to follow when we are at home. Alright? Let us revise some safety habits which we have to follow outside our houses so as to keep ourselves safe, so as to avoid accidents. Alright? First, let us discuss some road safety habits. So, what are these road safety habits? You all are very well aware of these safety habits, safety rules on road, right? What are they? Firstly, if you are walking on the road, make sure you take the footpath. Also, if you have to cross the road, you have to use the zebra crossing. Alright, children, even at the zebra crossing, you have to cross the road only when the pedestrian signal is green, only when the pedestrian traffic light is green. Alright, so what will you do where there is no traffic light? You have to look on both sides of the road, and once you're sure that the road is clear, only then you have to cross the road. Alright, any other things we should follow here? Yes, children, whenever we are riding our bicycle, make sure to wear all the safety gears. Wear your kneecaps, wear your helmets, right, children? As far as possible, take all these precautionary measures. And when you are going with your parents by car, if you are going by car, what you have to do? You have to wear your seat belts, right, children? Yes, so these were some of the safety rules which you have to follow on road, and do not play on road. Most importantly, we see that children do play on road. Do not play on roads, children. Okay? Then now let us discuss some safety habits which we can follow when we are in school. In school, yes, within the classroom, follow all the classroom rules. Do not run around the class. Do not jump on the desk or on the chair, right? Do not throw sharp objects on one another. And when you are taking the stair, when you use the stairs, do not rush or push one another, children. Okay, and make use of the railing only for support and not to play. That is not a plaything, right? Many of you tend to slide on the railing. It is not meant for that. You have to hold it for support, right, children? Otherwise, accidentally you might end up hurting yourself or one of your friends, right? So never ever do that, children. Okay, even in the playground you have to be very cautious, and if there is any barbed wire or damaged wire around, do not touch any of your wires. Wait for your turn while you're playing. Do not indulge in argument, right? And as far as possible, play safe games, children. Okay. And one more important thing is you have to keep your first aid box handy, be it at home or at school. At school, yes, of course, we have. Before getting into a first aid box, what do you mean by first aid? Yes, children, as the name itself suggests, first is the very first thing or the primary, and aid is help. Alright, so whenever someone gets hurt or injured, we can do something. We can do something to help that person before the doctor arrives, right? So these steps which we do to help the victim is referred to as the first aid. Okay, so where was I? I was telling you about the first aid box. So children, keep a first aid box handy in your house so that you can use it whenever a need arises. Now, what are the things that should go into a first aid box? Can you recall? Yes, the first aid box should contain an antiseptic lotion such as Dettol or Savlon. Okay, then gauze, cotton gauze. Okay, cotton gauze and cotton. A pair of scissors so that you can cut the gauze and bandage, right? Band-aids, a few band-aids so that you can cover up these scratches or any bruises, right? A crepe bandage, an antiseptic cream for cuts and burns, and a sticky tape so that you can do the bandage, right, on the wound. So these are the things which has to go into the first aid box, children. Alright, say you have a first aid box handy. You have all the necessary things which has to be present in a first aid box. But we should know how to give a first aid, how to perform a first aid, without which our first aid box goes waste, right, children? So now let us see how we can give a first aid when we have wounds, cuts or wounds. Next, let us see how a first aid can be given in case of minor burns. Okay, first, wounds. Now, what do you do while playing? While playing or while chopping something, you would have got hurt. You would have got a cut or a bruise, right, children? What do you do in such a case? What you will do? You have to wash the affected area with running water. You have to wash the wounded area with running water, clean running water. Alright, and then you have to wipe the area dry. Later, take a cotton ball, dip it in an antiseptic lotion like Dettol or Savlon, anything, and then clean the wound. Clean the wound so that no germs enter inside the wound. Okay, inside the body through the wound. Now you have to examine whether the wound is really deep or it is just a small cut or small wound which is not deep. In case the wound is not very deep, you can just apply a band-aid, or otherwise, or if the deep is wound, what you have to do, you have to apply an antiseptic cream. Then you have to cover the wound with a cotton and then apply a sticky tape. Alright children, what would you do in case you have small burns? You know, many a times it so happens that we might get small burns due to our carelessness. What do you do then? Do we run to doctors? No, we don't, right children? So here again our first aid box comes handy. What we have to do here? First and foremost, we have to keep the affected area under running tap water, alright? And you may make use of the ice pack as well. If you don't have ice pack, take a cotton cloth, clean cotton cloth, dip it in cold water and you can use that as an ice pack, okay? If not, you can just keep the affected part. You know, if your hands are burnt, then you can dip your hand in the water, cold water, okay? You can keep it dipped inside for some time, inside the water for some time. Later, you have to apply, a cream like Bernol so that it minimizes the burning sensation. Alright children, so this is what you have to do in case of minor burns. Also children, we have to keep certain things in mind while we are giving first aid to a victim. What are they? First and foremost, we have to keep ourselves calm and composed. Alright, do not panic. This is the most important thing which you should follow. If you panic, you will not be able to decide what you can do to help the victim, right? So stay calm children, do not panic. Then what is the other thing that you can do? Mostly what we see is whenever there is an accident, people just crowd around the victim. So make sure to avoid such crowd. In such a situation, looking at the crowd, the victim may panic and most importantly, he has to get fresh air, right? So for that reason, avoid crowding around the injured person. And if the injury is very deep, right, if there is severe bleeding and all, while you are giving the first aid, also ask someone to call the doctor. You might ask the other person to call an ambulance, right? These things would certainly help. Now let us discuss a few situations of emergency wherein we have to act wisely. From the point of safety, how we act is the point here, okay? So one such situation is a gas leak in our houses, right? Most of you would have experienced it already, right? Even if not a major issue, you would have experienced like the gas is on but there is no flame and you see the smell, you sense the smell of gas leak, right? Now what do you do in such a situation? What is that you have to do in such a situation? Firstly, go turn off the stove and then turn off the regulator. There is a regulator, main regulator, right? You can turn it off and put the cap on to the gas, LPG gas cylinder. Alright. Next is you have to open up all the windows and all the doors and let the fresh air in. Okay. Open up all the windows and doors for ventilation, children. Next, what you have to do is do not turn on or do not turn off any electrical appliances. Strictly do not turn on or turn off any of the electrical appliances. Okay, do not panic and do all these things. Turn off the knob, turn off the regulator, put the cap on, open all the doors and windows for ventilation. Alright. The next situation is when you notice a person, being affected with an electric shock. If you notice a person having an electric shock, what is that you have to do? First and foremost thing that you have to do is you have to turn off the main. You have to turn off the main switch, the main electricity supply. You have to cut the supply of electricity, right children? For that purpose, you have to turn off the switch. Then, in case you notice that the victim is attached to the appliance or to the wire, what do? Will you go try to, detach him yourself? No, you should not do it, right? Instead, you have to use a dry stick to detach him from the appliance or from the wire. Now, what will happen if you go touch the person? You will also get an electric shock, and both of you may have to, you are in danger. So that is not advised. You have to use a stick to help that person move away from the appliance or from the wire. Alright, so yes, these are certain things which you can follow to help the victim in case of an electric shock. Yes, children, this was all for today's session. See you all in the next session. Dhanyavad.